The day is finally here. We have warrior talents. That's right, they finally got released on DragonFlight Alpha today. And we're going to go over them. But for this video, we're going to go over just the core warrior talent tree, and we'll separate it into different videos. Otherwise, we'd have like an hour and a half long video if we go over all the talent trees in one shot. So we're going to instead go over on today's video, the core warrior talent tree, with one of the most exciting things, and you'll see in a second. But warriors are going back to the roots. That's to say the least. So let's go ahead and go on into it. And here is our core warrior talent tree. The first thing that you see and notice is we have stances back. Now, all of these stances, battle stance, defensive stance, and berserker stance, are to be determined or works in progress, but we're going to go over what we currently have right now. For battle stance, we have 3% increased critical strike chance and reduces the effectiveness of movement and parrying effects by 15%. Defensive stance, reduce all the damage you take by 20% and the damage that you deal by 10%. And berserker stance increases your auto attack damage by 5% and reduces the effectiveness of fear, sap, and incapacitate effects by 15%. Interesting. We will be able to stance dance while in combat, in case y'all remember stance dancing or you play classic. That's coming back in DragonFlight. Not sure how I feel about it. It's extra utility. It does feel kind of cool and empowered to like be able to choose your combat essence. And I am a little curious to see how these work, because I'm not too thrilled about the auto attack damage, but I can see how it could be an option. We're going to go over like each of these individually. I'm not going to try to talent specifically for something until the end of this video. I'm personally an arms warrior main. That's what I like the most. Obviously, we'll be making more videos for going over a fury tree, prot tree, and an arms tree. But we're just going to go over the core elements of the warrior tree as it is right now. The next row, we're just going to tap all of these real quick. We have fast footwork. Movement speed is increased by 5%. Pretty neat. Rallying cry. We're all familiar with rallying cry. Then you have a choice in the mid right here to have either intervene or second wind. They haven't changed. They work exactly how they do. Berserker's rage, a 1 minute cooldown. The interesting thing about that though is what we go down here, and we'll go into that in a second. Then we have siphoning strikes. It increases your leech by just flat 5%. They could end up having a lot of utility, especially for prot or when it comes to PvP. So we're going to go down here, tap those just so we get into the next row. For Berserker Rage, 1 minute cooldown, you can go down into Berserker Shout. You go Berserk, removing granting immunity to fear, sap, and incapacity effects for 6 seconds. I'm a little curious how these actually work in tandem. So we're going to hit apply real quick, see what we get. So we do have Berserker Shout. I'm wondering if it actually just converted, because it doesn't say that it currently replaces Berserker Rage, and they're both 1 minute cooldowns. I'm wondering if it's just that you're supposed to have 2 charges. No, you actually do have 2 different abilities. If they're the exact same thing, my critique would be just make it so it has 2 charges, because you can use Berserker Rage, literally the same thing. Buffs up, and Berserker Shout. Okay, yeah, you have both. So it actually works as if you just have 2 charges of Berserker Rage. Interesting. I'm okay with that, especially when it comes to PvP stuff. We have Heroic Leap. That's a classic. Spell Reflect. Inspiring Presence, so that'll bolster our Rallying Cry and increase the duration and the health granted by 25%. Solid move. And Double Time. All really good solid choices. I feel like they're in a good spectrum. If you want to have more mobility, then you can go down into here. Awesome. If you want to have utility, maybe doing PvP stuff, maybe you're tanking, you can choose your Spell Reflect or not. And obviously Double Time. Everybody loves Double Time. Going into our next row, we have Honed Reflexes. The cooldown of Pummel, Shield Slam, Overpower, and Bloodthirst is reduced by 1.5 seconds. I like that a lot. We have a choice right here, and this is a new thing. And feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but it looks pretty dang new to me. We have Stormbolt. That's a classic, but then we have something called Titanic Throw. Titanic Throw, 8 to 30 yard range, a 6 second cooldown. Throw your weapons at the enemy, causing 1,720 physical damage to it, and 5 nearby enemies. It also generates a high amount of threat. What? So we're actually going to take a little pause right here and talent for Titanic Throw and see what that looks like. Hit apply. Let's get Titanic Throw on our bars. We still do have Heroic Throw. It still does generate threats. It has the same things going about it and a 6 second cooldown. But now we have Titanic Throw. That's currently not going on my bar. There we go. Cool. So let's see what Titanic Throw looks like. Yep. Does exactly what it does. Looks like Heroic Throw. 100% does. Hitting currently 2 targets. When I was doing it a little bit earlier, it was hitting all 4 of these targets. There we go. That's going to be very interesting. Because if you focus this target, you would imagine that Titanic Throw would end up hitting at least the other 2 on either side. For some reason, targeting this enemy on the far left makes it so it actually hits all 4. Cool ability, extra damage. Little confusing on the high threat generation, because maybe you do want to end up taking that choice as a Fury Warrior or an Arms Warrior, just for some extra damage. Doesn't deal a whole lot, but it's something. We do still have Heroic Throw, and that does deal the exact same amount as Titanic Throw. But having that little bit of AoE could be handy. Going into next, we have Intimidating Shout. Nothing's changed there, nothing fancy. And then right down here, we have a choice between Impending Victory and Piercing Howl. So you can either choose between having an AoE slow, or you can have a modified version of Victory Rush. Pretty neat. I like that choice a lot. And then we have Furious Blows. The damage of Bloodthirst, Shield Slam, and Whirlwind is increased by 10%. Pretty solid. I would say that's overall like a really good point to take, especially if you're going to be a DPS warrior, Arms or Fury. Maybe even as Prot if you want to do some extra damage and try to pretend like you're a Gladiator Warrior, even though we didn't get that. We had a chance, dang it. That's okay. Anyways, going into the next row of talents and what we have, let's just activate everything real quick. We have Massacre. Having Massacre into our tree is really awesome, as having any kind of utility. And Rend. It gets better. It does. I'm super excited, because obviously I already went over these trees. We'll go into that in a cool second. But we're 100% taking Rend in our Arms Warrior build. When you take any damage, you heal for 4.5% of your maximum health. That was a conduit, so we have Pain and Gain now as an option there for more survivability. We have Thunderclap for all specs of Warrior. Blast all enemies, it deals the same thing. It also slows by 20%, and it does reduce damage beyond 5 targets. And we'll go into that and come back to it in a second. We have increased the duration of Intimidating Shout and can withstand more damage. Sorry, not increased duration, just withstand more damage. War Machine being across all classes or all specs. We have a choice between Shattering Throw and Bounding Stride, so make it so your Heroic Leap, have a little sprint afterwards, reduce CD, or you can shatter some bubbles. And then we have Seismic Reverberation. Reverberation. We're not editing that out. Sorry, it's too funny. This is something that we already are familiar with right now. It was, I believe, a legendary that we had. If Whirlwind hits 3 or more targets, it deals an additional 1 for 50% damage. I kind of liked it. It didn't end up being one of the better AoE legendaries to take, but I am excited to see it here for a really hectic AoE build, and that can be really cool. Before we go into the next section, well, actually, it kind of complements it. We're going to be able to play Arms Warriors like how they were in MoP, because you can go for Rend, and then when you go into Thunderclap, we get Blood and Thunder back. In case you're unfamiliar with Blood and Thunder, I'll read the tooltip out exactly for you. Increase the damage of Thunderclap by 10%. Whenever you Thunderclap a target affected with your Rend, you also affect 5 targets with Rend. Incredible. I love that. Now, the other option you do have is Crackling Thunder. Thunderclap's radius increased by 50%, and it reduces the target's movement speed by an additional 10%. So you'd have a 30% movement speed slow. Could be really fancy for doing some Mythic Plus tanking stuff. But Blood and Thunder coming back is really awesome. So it does say here in this tooltip, you also affect 5 nearby targets with Rend. You won't be able to Thunderclap, have Rend on one target. If you pull 20 mobs, Thunderclap, and it'll hit all 20, unfortunately. You do have a target cap on it. It would be a little busted. I'd like to see that at least increase to 8 to help modify that damage for a Rend Thunderclap build. But maybe we'll put that in the input and see what other people like. Going down into the next row, we have Armored to Teeth. I do remember something like this. Maybe it's a prot thing. I don't really play prot too much. But you gain strength equal to 10% of your armor value. So that becomes really handy if you have a shield on. So obviously if you're prot, really beneficial. We already went over those. Crushing Force. The damage of your Shield Slam and Slam increased by 25%. That's a pretty dang heavy hitter. And then we have Overwhelming Rage. Increases your max rage pool by 30. So instead of having 100, you would have 130. The next row is really exciting because you can get Dying by the Sword as a Fury Warrior or a Prot Warrior. Typically, there's only been an Arms Warrior thing to have died by the sword, but increases your parry chance by 100% and reduces all damage you take by 30% for 8 seconds on a 2-minute CD. That's awesome. I'm super excited for that. That's been one of the best defensives I've enjoyed for a long time, obviously with being an Arms main. It's going to be really cool to have that as an option for playing a Prot Warrior and Fury. Going into the middle row right here, we have one-handed weapon specialization. We do have weapon specializations in this tree. I find that pretty cool. Nothing too devastating. You pretty much will go for one or the other depending on if you're Fury, Arms, or Prot. And then we have Dauntless Duelist. The first enemy you damage in combat is marked as your adversary. You deal 3% more damage to them, and they deal 1.5% less damage to you. You may only have one adversary at a time. So, to my understanding, I don't really play Venthyr that much for my warrior. This is apparently a Venthyr soulbind that you can have. Really interesting. I'm totally down for that. When I initially read it, I was like, whoa, that's really cool. That's some true like warrior like love right there. Real warrior fantasy. So that's cool. I really like it. The 10% leech, we're gonna have 15% leech down here as a potential if you would like. So Prot can have 15% leech, and with all the AoE that you're dealing, really awesome for some self heals. And then over here we have Frothing Berserker. Your abilities that cost rage have a 20% chance to immediately refund 20% of the rage spent. Could be pretty handy. We'll see. I think that's more of like a Fury Warrior ability that we've had in the past, but we could have it as Arms. Maybe you want to get like those executes off really gnarly. Maybe you want to have some more rage pulled up for your defensives as a Prot. Could be some cool utility. Doesn't feel like something I have to go get as Arms or I have to go get as Fury. So it's cool to have that there. And then we go down into the later row. We're going to be running out of talent points here in a cool second, but we're still going to be trying to give it the best go we can, just at least activating everything. Under the left side of the tree, this is when things start to separate off. We have Cruel Strikes, increases your critical strike chance by 2%. You do have to put 2 points into it to get 4% total. And then we have Two-Handed Weapon Specialization, increases the damage dealt while using a single two-handed weapon by 5. Pretty sure that's going to be fixed a little bit, because currently it just maxes out at 10, but we'll see. The cool thing about it is it's also a work in progress to allow dual wielding. So for the Fury tree that we'll go into in another video, you do have two options of Single-Minded Fury or Titan's Grip, and you can choose your weapon specialization down in the regular warrior tree to choose which route you really want to bolster or benefit. And then we have Spear of Bastion, which I'm so happy to have. That was a really cool warrior ability, and I was kind of hoping it wasn't going away, so I'm excited to have that Covenant ability back into the game. Or continue, I guess, to be in the game. And down into here, you have two choices to bolster your Spear of Bastion. So you don't have to take it as the last capstone, just to have the ability, period. But the two options you have later down the road, if you decide to take it, you have Alicia and Might. Your Spear of Bastion's duration is increased by 4%, and while you remain within the spear's area, your critical strike damage is increased by 25, or you can go for the direct damage approach. Your Spear of Bastion instantly generates more rage, and damage is increased by 30%. Both really cool options. I like how you do have the option between both, and I also like how you can just have the talent for it without having to spend another talent point to get to it, just something to bolster it. When you go down into the middle of the tree, you have two options down here. You have increased the armor by 30% of your strength. Be pretty awesome. Wouldn't typically take that as an Arms Warrior or Fury Warrior, maybe PP combat, but doesn't really help with magical effects. And then you have Endurance Training, increase your stamina by 10%. Pretty neat. Okay with both those options. Doesn't feel like something you'd have to go down for like the middle of the tree if you're going to be playing an Arms or Fury Warrior. But the only problem I do have is that in order to get Avatar, which has been a core ability we've had as an Arms Warrior for a long time, increases the damage by 20% and removes roots and snares, you do have to take 2 points into Reinforced Plates just to get Avatar. So it's cool that you can get it down here without bolstering it, but it does feel kind of weird to have to spec for increasing armor just to get it and 2 points. We'll see. With level 70 talents and whatnot, we have 70 as an option this week, and I'll try to break that down. Then we have something that I consider, or I think is, pretty dang new. We have Bitter Immunity. It's a 3-minute cooldown, restores 20% health instantly, and removes all diseases, poisons, curses, and bleed effects on you. That's wicked. Now, it is a 3-minute cooldown, but it also is pretty dang strong, so I could see a lot of warriors in PvP end up taking that, and especially prot warriors. Shoot, you might even have to go for that as an option in some kind of raid mechanics in case there's a boss fight that requires it. And on the next side of it, we have Shockwave. So all specs of warriors can have Shockwave. In theory, if it works well enough with your build, that's up to you. But you do have Shockwave as an option. It's 40-second CD, and it just does a frontal cone of stunning targets. Pretty cool. I'm happy with seeing that. If you go down the... Oh, sorry. Actually, let's go back down the middle. Doing one at a time because we're separated now. When you go down into Avatar, the capstone, you have two choices. You have Signet of Tormented Kings. If you're familiar with that, that's a legendary that we have currently in Shadowlands. So whenever you activate Bladestorm, Recklessness, or Avatar, randomly cast one of the other two with reduced effectiveness. I love that so much. I find it really cool. But it does get tricky when you go into the combination of other trees, and we'll go into that when we go into Arms, Prot, and Fury. And the other option you have there is Avatar increases the damage of your Thunderclap by 50% and reduces its cooldown by 50%. So you can technically build a Thunderclap spamming build, and that could be kind of fun. After you take Shockwave, you have the option for Rumbling Earth. When Shockwave strikes at least 3 targets, it reduces its CD by 15 seconds. Pretty standard, but it doesn't feel like you're forced to take it, so that's pretty good. And if we go down into the right side of the tree, we have Quick Thinking, so you get 4% haste, much like how we have the 2% crit over here. I kind of wish one of these was maybe Mastery instead of Stamina. Like if this was Mastery, then you have a choice between Haste, Mastery, or Crit. Apologies, burped. And then you could take that Mastery in Avatar. Would feel a little smoother, I think, for all 3 specs. After Quick Thinking, you have Thunderous Ward. They did rename Dragon War. I guess the reason for being such is that we're in DragonFlight, and there's the Dragon Isles, there's dragon-named abilities now. So probably why they renamed it, and honestly, I'm okay with that. Dragon War was neat, it still has a dragon icon above it, whatever. It's now named Thunderous Ward. It now says, to be determined, work in progress. Currently seems like it works like how Dragon War did, with the, and forgive me if I'm wrong, the additional bonus of doing a bleed effect. So roar explosively in a 16-yard frontal cone, instead of being around your character, and causes 2,458 physical damage, and causes enemies to bleed for 1,475 physical damage over 9 seconds. Interesting. And then we have dual wield specialization all the way on the right side. So it increases your damage while dual wielding by 5 and then 10%. Probably estimated to see 5-10% for the two-hand specialization over here. They just forgot to put the percentage. And then the last thing, the capstone for it, after you take Thunderous Ward, you can bolster that with Thunderous Aftershocks. It's not Ancient Aftershocks, as it might be misleading, but it is work in progress to be determined. Thunderous Ward knocks enemies down and causes 2 Aftershocks that deal 50% of the attack power damage, and each Aftershock generates 2 additional rage per target hit. So you get to make your Thunderous Roar even more thunderous. Pretty neat. I don't feel highly forced or encouraged to take that, so I'm okay with that being at the bottom of the tree right there. Would I like Thunderous Ward as being an Arms Warrior in like Mythic Plus? Sure, but I shouldn't feel like heavily provoked to do such. I also do like how for the weapon specializations, they have it that it's offset, it's just to the side, if you do want to end up taking that or not. Pretty neat. I do wish, though, in the middle tree, this would be like my one critique so far. I do wish this was something else, and maybe even just 1 point. If you're going to have the 2 points going into each of these rows, it would be cool to have an easier way of opting into Avatar as a possibility. If we were to reset this entire thing, and let's just say that I'm going for Arms Warrior DPS, just going for that. I would go probably into Berserk. I would want to go into Rally because it's too useful. You'd want to go into Double Time. We don't need to really take Defensive Stance, which is kind of interesting to have to not opt into. It could be really useful in some higher Mythic Plus, reduce the damage take, or some raid encounters, so that way you're reducing the damage you're taking, so your heals don't have to heal you as much. But your options are Second Wind and Intervene, so whatever, not a big deal. You don't have to take these, but if we're trying to build like a Mythic Plus build for doing AoE damage, I am going to opt into that because you do want to take Thunderclap so you can spread rend on every target. We are going to go into Honed Reflexes. Going to go into Titanic Throw, even though it does generate threat. I do want to deal a little extra damage in kind of an AoE fashion, but Stormbolt would be really good utility to have for being able to CC targets. Going into the next session of things, we do want to grab the increased damage for Slam and Whirlwind. That's really useful. So going down here, remove incapacitated effects, sure. Let's be just purely selfish. And, I don't know, actually. 5% leech. Yeah, we'll go with Berserk. Go into Leap, and we'll get our damage increase. So that goes down into our next row. I'm not trying to get over into here for Slam damage by 25% because we're thinking about AoE scenarios. We're going to go into Thunderclap, Rend. Massacre is really handy, so I do want to take Massacre. We're going to take the strength equal to our armor value by 10%. Dive with the sword, because we do want to eventually end up landing with Spear of Bastion over here. For this side of the tree, I'm going to pretty much ignore most of it. I'm going to take the Whirlwind hits additional time, and I think that's where I'm going to lock out over here. We're going to take Blood and Thunder, and then we're going to take Dauntless Duelist. So we do still have 4 points we can spend. I'm going to go into Piercing Howl for some slows, and go into some increased auto attack generation, just to have some little extra buffer. And actually, we can take the damage increase for Slam. So we have 2 points we do have to spend. We could go back into getting a secondary Berserk. We could get Spell Reflect. We could get movement speed to help us move a little bit faster around the field, maybe dodge some mechanics. D-stance, you do have quite a few options for the two. I'm going to go with the Slam damage for a single target, and we're going to go with the increased maximum rage. Then we're going to go into Cruel Strikes 2. We're going to go into two-hand weapon specialization, assuming that we're getting a flat 10% damage increase instead of just 10 damage. Spear of Bastion, and then into Elysian Might. Now we have still 4 talent points we can use. So if our goal is to try to get into Avatar, we would go down into Reinforced Plates, Avatar, and then we can still get Signet. And with that, when we do hit 70, we'll still have 2 more talent points we can spend. So you can end up getting the 4% additional haste. You could end up getting stamina if you really wanted. You could get Bitter Immunity. I probably would take that because it seems like a really good utility to have. You could get Bounding Stride, Shattering Throw. You have quite a few options to go back into to customize your warrior toolkit. Me personally, I would probably end up taking D-Stance and then Fancy Footwork. I feel like those would be really handy. But we no longer have Fear. Fear could be problematic, would see. For raid stuff, maybe you want to take an Inspiring Presence. I'm really not too upset with this tree so far, aside from just having to be talented for Reinforced Plates. Increase your armor by 60% of your strength. I don't really care about my armor being increased, aside from like taking physical damage and reducing that. I would rather have something that, like Mastery, where it could benefit all 3 specs of Warrior. So that way I feel like I'm still empowered and like working towards my DPS role. But so far, that is what the current Warrior base talent tree looks like. And those are all my critiques. I like it. I think it connects enough. I don't feel too encouraged or forced or like how I'm missing out on something very vital. If I have to go down the right side of the tree or if I have to go down the left side of the tree, depending on how I'm trying to build. If you go prot, you'd be more centered. Maybe you do want to take Spear just for the utility of it to root some mobs, but you don't have to take the increased damage for it or anything like that. You could go into Thunderous Wars, get some more AoEs. You can go a completely Thunderclap spammy cleave spec that has a whole bunch of leech. I like it a lot. I really do. I really, really do. And there you go. That's my analyzation of the core warrior talent tree that we have right now. Everything is subject to change. It's the first day of having these things out for DragonFlight Alpha. The most important thing right now is to please put in your input. You can put them in the comments here or on forums, whatever you would like, but make sure you're part of the conversation so that way we can make sure that warriors are feeling great when it comes to World of Warcraft Dragonflight. Gotta put in a lot of work, gotta put in a lot of time, and be part of a lot of conversations. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that subscribe button. It's absolutely free. And interact with things, like and comment, and all the classic YouTube stuff that you're supposed to do and I'm supposed to apparently tell you to do. Neato. Next video we have coming up. Yeah, sure, that's fine. Next video coming up is going to be the Arms Warrior talent tree. I'm excited and I'm a little skeptical, but we'll get into that in that video.